Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're carrying on with the RS32, basically my S3 with the R32 turbo engine. We will be keeping it manual, 6-speed, 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, whatever you want to call it. I'll sort out Haldex controllers and all that kind of stuff in the future, but for now we've got the engine, we've got the stock ECU, stock wiring. So basically want to get it started, running, see how it works, then fit it in the car, do the mounts, all that kind of stuff. Let's see where we go. And yeah, I reached out to a few guys locally. There is one or two with naturally aspirated setups, front wheel drive, all that kind of stuff. But I'm pretty excited to pull this off. Let's get it. Okay, so a couple of things that I wanted to go through was I wanted to try to start the engine before fitting it, but there's no flex plate, ring gear, starter. I'm pretty sure the TFSI starter might have worked, but that's not going to help because we don't have a gearbox. So what I'm going to do now is start going through wiring, pulling off manifold, all the stuff that I don't really need right now, because we are going to turbocharge it. And then I've been checking out the ECUs. So luckily they are both the same, both MED 9.1s. Focus up there. MED 9.1, MED 9.1. So yeah, that's cool. I'm hoping so. As far as cluster and all that kind of stuff, they interact with each other with the 3.2 ECU. Boost and all that kind of stuff I'll figure out with boost controllers and bigger injectors and whatever else. We'll get to that when the thing's running. But yeah, so for now I've pulled out the TFSI ECU, and now what I'm going to start doing is start getting all the covers and stuff off the R32 manifold, just go through the wiring. There's some funny things happening here, and then yeah, start getting a plan for this.
Well, we've been having some joy. Busy just stripping off all the covers and whatever else, and getting all this stuff off. Since this is the first time I've stripped a R32, it's quite a lot of fun. The engineers had a great time designing this, but also it seems like this engine was in a river or something. When they washed it, they must have just flushed the shit out of the spark plug coils, and yeah, they're all rusty. Keen to see what the rest of it looks like, so let's carry on. Alright, so we've got the intake off. I didn't know the intake was plastic. That's a bit of a bummer. So we are obviously going to make a plenum and all of that, but doing some car archaeology, and there's like chunks of crap. I don't know what all this is. It's like sawdust, mint condition, and then inside the cylinders, I'm able to get enough light. Yeah, perfect. But it's fine. We're going to carry on. I'm going to make some covers now quickly just to cover up the engine. Carry on just cleaning off whatever. I am going to retain the stock harness and all of that, and just remove all of these pipes that they've cut off, and yeah, and then just carry on with that. I'm going to start designing the manifold. I'm going to CNC cut the flanges and all that stuff for both the plenum and the turbo, and then I'll probably pull all the wiring out the S3, and then we go from there. So we're taking a quick break from the S3. We're going to take a drive out through to Mr. Stratton's house and give him a hand on the A8. Right, so I've been able to test fit the motor. Basically what I did was use the TFSR box. The problem with trying to use the TFSR box is the intermediate shaft on the VR motors sit on the opposite side of the block. Well, sit on the gearbox side of the block, so there is a big bulge there. The problem is the TFSR box obviously doesn't accommodate for that cutout, so you can't bolt everything up. So I managed to cut a small section of the box up and everything bolted up. The problem with trying to use that box is the input shaft sits way off. So I at least was able to get it in the car, check for mounts, check that everything lined up, and test fit everything. I was happy with the test fit, and from there I was actually able to find a VR6 four-wheel drive box locally. I bought a 2.8 motor, and it came with the VR6 box. So I won't be using the motor, but I can at least now use the gearbox to get the R32 in the car again, check the mounts, and make sure everything lines up, and I'm happy with that. The next step I will do once the engine is in and all my mounts are happy, I will then start going on to designing manifolds, flanges, ring, all that kind of stuff. I did try use the TFSR starter. Unfortunately, that does not work. I don't know if the throw is different or what, but yeah, I need to also find a starter motor. So for now, what I'm going to do is design the intake system. So make the plenum. You can't buy the flanges for them, basically on the FSR motor they are completely different because of where the injectors sit. So what I'm going to do is design the flange and then 3D print a test. From there, if I'm happy with all of that, I can start planning on machining them, running the ports, all that kind of stuff. So for now, let's get onto the 3D printing. Alright, so we have 3D printed our part. This is our second attempt at it. The first one was a little bit too under scale. So this one I just need to get the pictures a little bit more precise. But I'm happy with this. So the big difference, and the reason why I can't buy a already machined flange, is the FSR has these bushes and the injectors sit in these slots here. And that is the main difference on the FSR and the non-FSR for the direct injection. So what I am going to do is I'm going to add on your round ports, just machine all that stuff, and yeah, I am happy with this. I can 3D scan and all that nonsense on the original intake. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm going to do the same system on the exhaust manifold side, and then CNC machine everything out of stainless and everything out of aluminium for the intake. I did also make a different mount for my engine stand, so that I can mount the flywheel and the gearbox on the side. I'll brace it a little bit better to test start the motor, bench start it, and then I'll pull all the wiring off, paint everything, get everything nice and clean, give the engine a service. But for now, I want to carry on with this stuff, so let's get on with it.
It's been 84 years.
What's up, guys? So it's been a couple of months of not working on the car, while working on it every now and then. So the engine is in, the gearbox is mounted. I've made a little custom mount setup. I was struggling to get the right stock mount to fit, and then on the other side we had the billet mount with the right mount. So all of that fitted. Drive shafts line up. Prop shaft is a little bit out, but I'll live with that. I'll just do a new billet bushing coupler, and yeah, majority of the wiring is all sorted out. The problem with the R32 harness was the T14 plug that basically goes from the TFSI loom to the 94 pin connector on the ECU was cut off on the R32 plug, so I had to repin and do the pins on that. So basically I downloaded the flow diagrams, so you know you can go through which pin does what and all of that, and then basically I jotted everything down and checked what was different between the TFSI and the R32. And nice thing is I have the complete wiring harness for the R32, so I didn't have to change much for that. But on the 94 pin connector, which is basically like your oil pressure light, alternator, excite, all that kind of stuff, was different pins. Charge pressure control, obviously the R32 is not stock boosted, so I've had to depin that, change that to like low pressure sensor, low fuel pressure sensor, all that kind of stuff. So for now I am happy with how the engine sits. The mounts are done, everything is perfect with that. I'm going to pull it out again now, now that I'm happy with the wiring, and start building the manifolds, the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold, and any other fabrication on the radiator and stuff like that that I need to do. I was going to do all the billet stuff and stainless steel manifolds and all of that, but unfortunately budget just doesn't allow for that, and I can't let this car just sit for another year doing nothing. So what we're going to do is just go mild steel, hand fabricated intake manifold, and just get everything done. I want to get this car running and just driving. So budget constraints, if I need to upgrade in the future I will, but for now let's just get cracking on it. Alright guys, so I've pulled the engine out, basically so that I can start doing the things that I can't get to while it's in there, so that everything's prepped and ready to get the engine back in. I have done the 3D printing and stuff, but I did obviously design everything for billet machining. So on the intake manifold side, I've obviously changed that. I've now just made 2 separate flanges to cut so that I can weld on a plenum. And the next thing that I did was the exhaust manifold. I've done the flange for that, made sure all the ports line up, all the bolts line up. So that has been sent off to get cut out of mild. So the next thing that we're moving on to, or that I did, was make the collector. So this is 6:1 mild steel, and obviously got the flange cut. So what I need to do now is get the flange to line up nicely with the collector, cut this down, weld this on, and then from there determine where exactly I'm happy with the turbo sitting, and then I can start, once I got the flange, start doing the runners. And then from there I will move on to doing the plenum side and doing all the water and whatever else needs to get done. And then the last thing that I'll probably do is the head spacer. I don't want to strip everything and then leave it laying for too long and forget what goes where. I'd rather just get the spacer, pull the head off, put the spacer on, do it all in one shot. So for now, let's get onto the collector. I've welded on the flange, mounted the turbo to the flange, got all that in position where I'm happy, and braced it so that I can, once I have the flange for the exhaust flange, I can start doing the runners and welding them up. So what I'm doing now is basically, so I am removing this oil cooler. I'm not a big fan of the water oil cooling systems. I had one on my Barra in my territory fail, and it turned the oil into milkshake. So I'm not a fan of these. I know there's guys who trust them, they're reliable, they're cool, all that kind of stuff. I'm not interested in taking that chance. So what I am going to do is I'm going to run one of these, just a sandwich plate, and run the external oil cooler off of this. The nice thing about the sandwich plate is I have a port for my oil feed for the turbo, so I can just tap it off of here and straight to the turbo, instead of having to run a T off of the oil pressure sensor and, you know, one port for the pressure, one port for the turbo. I'm not doing any of that. So what I'm going to do, strip this off and get that sorted. I have read on the forums, the R32 forums, that the guys in the UK say the oil doesn't get hot enough and all that kind of stuff when they do the external coolers. In South Africa it gets plenty hot, so I'm not worried about that. So yeah, this is the next mission now. Okay, cool. Continuing on with the oil cooler sandwich plate for the external cooler. Basically, the stock cap with the tightening nut on it that would tighten the water cooler down is too long to tighten the sandwich plate down. So what I had to do was basically I took a piece of billet aluminium and then basically just machined the cap that I needed, and then cross drilled it and made sure all the channels for the oil from that feed pipe will circulate through the cap and then go back into the sandwich plate. The last thing you want is for it to starve of oil because there's not enough ports and all that. So that is all done. I'm going to tighten that on now and get that fitted. I hope to have the exhaust manifold flange today or tomorrow. And once I receive that, I can start running the runners for the exhaust manifold. And then once I'm happy with that, once the runners are done, manifold's done, I will start doing all the lines, oil line, coolant line, and then I can start planning on moving on to designing maybe the downpipe or do the radiator and water pipes. So for now, let's get this thing fitted and hopefully build the manifold. Alright, so no luck with the flange yet. it is December, and unfortunately the guys who do my cutting just didn't have stock of the material thickness that I needed, so I was let down with that. But we'll move on. So I am still looking, but in December everyone's closed, so hopefully we make a plan. But for now we will leave that, and I think what we're going to move on to is I'm going to pull the front valance fan shroud, radiator, all that stuff. I'm going to pull it off, and then from there I noticed my radiator is broken, so I think what we'll do is we'll make some custom aluminium end tanks. The radiator itself I think is still good. One of the plastic pieces is broken, so yeah, I think again budget. I would love to buy a new radiator, but this one works, so let's just make some end tanks for it. And I mean, if it works, it works. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Yeah, let's move on. Nice and rainy weather at the moment, so let's just get all of these bolts off. Just drop it like that. It's a great idea. Dropping it is not a good idea. Jeez, this thing is heavy. All right, so let's get this fan shroud off. Pull the plug. So, I mean, the radiator's a bit dirty. There's some fins here that seem to have been dinged, but I mean, you just bend all that out. The problem is this pipe here. It's like a push-on clip. This side is broken, and I did notice my car did leak water, but nothing too hectic. The nice thing I like about the S3s is the aluminium intercooler. It basically goes to the span of the radiator, so I will be reusing that. But let's carry on getting this off. And there is the aluminium intercooler. I mean, this thing is quite a unit for a stock intercooler system. In my opinion, it's better than the Mark 7s and Mark 8 Golfs. I know the guys run thicker ones, but the nice thing is this has a lot of surface area, and it's quite thick. I mean, it's like a 63mm core. So I'll definitely be reusing this. I'll clean it up, but let's get on that at radiator. So I mean, the front of this radiator is, there's not even a scratch on it. Would be pointless not reusing this one. So yeah, we're gonna get off all these tabs, and then from there pop the end tanks off. So we have cut up our aluminium. The next thing we're going to do is bend it up. So the nice thing with this bender is a very old bender. The dies are a bit buggered, but it's called a fingered or finger bender. It's got fingers. You can set where you want to bend. So this one is fine. This one I need to remove. So it just loosens off the back, and then I need one of these. And everything sort of goes together like Lego. And then you get it where you want it. Alright, after much struggling, I just had to run a tap through the holder. And now we can actually put this thing on. It goes on like that. Now it's working. Once we are happy, just give it a bit of a nip. Right, so we're as close to the lines as we can. Obviously, like I said, these fingers are not the greatest. All the dies, the edges of the dies, and then just for some level of accuracy, I use a digital level. And then we bend up. This is quite thick aluminium, so need a bit of a persuader. Down. And bend. There we have a channel. Okay. Okay, now we bend up. So just some general practice things when welding aluminium. When doing a radiator or an intercooler, always earth on the radiator. I've had this touch a table where it was earthed and it blew a hole through the channels. No good. So I've got a box taped underneath. When I do the other side, I'll put a box. What I'll do is run a box where I'm welding here, and just always take some time. I've wiped everything down. I've also cleaned it up a little bit with Scotch-Brite. It's always dirty, the filler. So just wipe it down. I have a dedicated Scotch pad for that. And then I've acetoned. And then one of the things I could not figure out, I thought I forgot how to weld aluminium. I didn't weld aluminium for a while and I couldn't figure it out. It kept doing stupid stuff. Quick tip, whether you're a good TIG welder or not, when you're welding aluminium, keep your tungsten as far up as you can. It just makes your life so much easier. Just do it like that, trust me. Okay, so I'm going to do a tack so that I can situate the end tank a little bit better. So let's do that. My temperature is a bit high, so let's just turn that down. Okay. So we are making good progress on the radiator, but then you need to do holes in the radiator and the hole saw breaks, so the drill part. So now you spend a good 2 hours trying to get the drill bit out of here, and it just doesn't come out. So it's a Sunday, can't go buy another one. All I want to do is finish this radiator, and this just doesn't come out. I've heated it up, I've cooled it down, I've lubricated it. Can't get the drill bit part out. build a car quickly. It only takes a couple of days. You know, it's easy work. Haha. But we carry on. Cool, so pretty much done with the radiator. I am happy with how everything has sort of come along. The end tanks are done. I got one or two more small things to do as far as the fan shroud mounts. I just need to make little standoffs just to bolt the shroud onto, and then I will pressure test it just to make sure these end tanks don't leak. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with this. Gave it a clean and everything's looking good. So I did have a look at the previous episode, and yeah, the amount of oil that was caked all over this car from the blow-by, obviously when the ring lands or whatever was wrong on that engine happened, or just excessive blow-off from the PCV system because it had one of those blank-off plates. The front of the car was caked in oil. I did always, since when I bought this car, I did always want to clean it, and there was oil everywhere, and I just never got around to it. So I think what I'll do is an episode of just cleaning oil. I have cleaned the intercooler and the fan shroud and all of that. Everything there looks brand new. I'm happy with how that turned out. So I think we'll do an episode of just scrubbing and cleaning before I put everything back together. I do think this is the end of this episode. I will do the last little bits on this in the background and then mount it. Yeah, this has been a bit of a long episode. Everything's been a little bit scattered, but I will get to consistently posting now. Either Monday or Wednesday there will be a new video on this car every Monday or Wednesday. If it is not the car, I do need to do some small workshop upgrades, obviously within my garage. The next episode that comes out I've already done. It is ready to go out. It will be out next Monday, and yeah, that is a bandsaw episode. And yeah, there's a few more things that I will make around the shop and DIY and then record, but other than that there will be consistent R32 episodes. And yeah, thanks for following along, thanks for sticking around if you have made it this far. Project cars is always a mental issue, but I just thank God that I'm capable of getting this done and I have the skills. So yeah, I'm going to end this episode here. Thanks guys for watching, and if you want to make some money during December in South Africa, do laser cutting, because I cannot find anyone that'll do it. So if you can, in the comments below, please like and share, and in the comments below just drop me a message if you can do some laser cutting for me. I would appreciate that. And if you want to make money in December, do laser cutting, because no one's open, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one looking to cut stuff, because we all have a bit of time now. So yeah, see you guys in the next episode.